2020 because of COVID-19, when the world literally stopped traveling. And that's why we felt the need to be staying connected with our audience, who are the investor base, who are the founders who are looking to raise funds. So that's why VCTV was born. And since then, we have grown in terms of audience, number of audience community that we have, which includes the investors and the founders. So welcome back, guys. I mean, I know you all. You have been a regular speaker on VCTV. I would like to start with you now. Please start with a small introduction about yourself, the company you represent. Then we take the questions. It's going to be between me and Terence. We're going to be switching on the questions. Keep it relaxed, keep it simple, and let's go with the flow. Excellent. I'd like to start with Anuj, who's just joined us back again. Hi, Anuj. Welcome to VCTV. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. This is the afternoon session of VCTV, and I feel differently already. I feel very different about it, but I feel very relaxed at the same time because it's in the middle of the day, and I'm still on top of my work. So yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, we haven't been getting enough sun because of the whole COVID situation. But yeah, good to join you guys. Good to see you again. Pleasure to be here. Introducing myself, I'm the founder of Yellow Sapphire Technologies. We are an IT development company based out of India. We have our specialization in fintech and medtech product. Along with Yellow Sapphire, I'm also working with iAngels in Israel on some angel deals, helping out new startup coming out of Israel. And I'm also an international partner to World Business Angel Forum, which is a G20 initiative to promote global financial exclusivity. So working with new startups across the world, working with entrepreneurs and investors across the world to promote entrepreneurship and new innovations coming across all around.
Excellent. Welcome back, Anuj, and we're going to hear a lot from you. Next, I have Sean, who has just joined back. I don't know where he disappeared. He saw on Burrows and he's dialing after a while. So, Sean, welcome back. Where did he go?
A lot has been going on, especially where I am. So I'm recovering from COVID, and then also in addition to that, the entire African continent is going through what is being seen as almost similar. I would compare it most to an Arab Spring, where you saw a lot of revolutions and different things going on in the Middle East. Right now, we have 5 different countries in the African continent protesting, mostly around human rights and, just bad governance. So very interesting times to be alive, especially in Lagos, Nigeria. But with that being said, as Sunny said, my name is Sean Burrows. I am the co-founder of Ingressive for Good. That is a foundation tasked with training 1 million African youth, deploying $1 million in scholarship funding and creating 5,000 jobs. Our sister company is Ingressive Capital, a $10 million venture fund that is committed to basically investing in tech-enabled startups connected to traditional African business sectors. And I'm also the CEO of my own company, Burrows Enterprises, which is an operations consulting firm dedicated to building an economic bridge between Africa and its diaspora. So again, very happy to be here, proud to be around. Good to see you all again.
Great, thank you so much. I didn't know that you were recovering from COVID. I mean, how long it's been already? I mean, are you completely recovered?
I've been going through it for about 3 weeks. Outside of random bouts of exhaustion after like looking at something for too long or walking upstairs or breathing too hard, I kind of get tired. But outside of that, health is good. I feel strong. We're here. And as I always say, any day I wake up is a good day.
Right, great. I mean, welcome to see you. That's why I keep on saying on my panels, please stay healthy because we would like to see you back again. That's the whole idea. I mean, good to see you jumping up and down with a lot of energy. You didn't give me I never thought for a second that you would have that. But anyways, we can't control it because especially the place you are in, as you rightly said. Thank you so much, Sean, and welcome back to VCTV. Okay, great. Next I have Rishabh. Hi, Rishabh. Welcome back. We just spoke with you yesterday on a different panel.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Sony. How are you, man? How are you? So I was just talking to Terence and, telling him that it's less than 24 hours that we met and we are meeting again. So anyways, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who is watching this from any part of the world. And I am working with O1X Fund, which is a family office based out of Dubai. We invest in early to growth stage companies. We mostly into blockchain, And our sister company, ITH Technologies, is an tech accelerator, which is based out of India, which is investing into sector agnostic early stage or mostly seed stage companies. We help them in scaling up. We help them providing the resources, then the expertise, the mentorship. And that's how we work with the startups. It's mostly we provide them our sweat and blood along with the money to help them grow and then reach the vision and achieve the heights they imagine to be. And presently, we are also aggressively working with on the DeFi space with an accelerator called TDeFi. It's an accelerator which focuses on DeFi and NFT startups, NFT blockchain startups. We invest in very early stage companies. We work with them, provide them the legal support, the compliance support, then the PR support, and then the necessary funds through our investor partner investors. And we Ovanix is one of our partner investor with with the accelerator. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'll keep on discussing things about. And I'm really looking forward to this session because fintech and blockchain is, as you rightly said, it's changing every day. It's every day is a new day. A new thing comes up, a new solution comes up, and the world is following it. And it's a very interesting time, as like Sean rightly mentioned. It's a very interesting time to live in. I mean, he mentioned for different reason, but the statement, I'm just taking the statement that it's a very interesting time to live in, having so many different solutions, so many different problems revolving around, and it's great to be here. So pleasure to connect with you all. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Rishabh. I really like the fact that you said giving the sweat and the blood to the startups. I mean, that's fantastic. The way you just put it over there, the words. Thank you so much and welcome back. It's a very interesting time for sure. Nobody would have ever imagined of such a time, even in the wildest dreams. But we are living it. We're living it in a good way, I guess. And we're still connected. We're exchanging information. Thank you so much. I would like to introduce Terence. Terence is going to introduce himself and also a little bit about LATOKEN. And then we go questions. Here you go, Terence, over to you.
Thank you, Sony. Okay, so for the benefit of those joining in, some of you may be looking at this for the first time. Others, you've been through a few of these VCTV sessions. So if you're wondering, now just a quick introduction on LATOKEN itself. We are a rapidly growing crypto exchange. Now, the sole focus is, of course, on liquidity and looking at new tokens itself. So that's what we're doing at the moment. And our mission is simple. Our mission is to ensure that the markets are there, the trading is available, and a broad range of asset class is, again, available to a lot and every one of you out there. So this is also an opportunity for new businesses and also entrepreneurs out there. Now, if you want to learn a thing or two, or if you want to see how the industry is moving, I would say this is a good platform to look at new trends that are coming up and to listen to our seasoned investors out there and see what they have in mind for you and for something to just keep you motivated, I suppose. So
Great.
Yeah, Sony, back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terence, for that short yet very effective introduction about LATOKEN, what we do, because VCTV is from LATOKEN, and it's very important for us to also demonstrate the importance of LATOKEN and what we do as an exchange, cryptocurrency exchange, with PayPal moving into cryptocurrency, selling, buying Bitcoin. And in Singapore, if you know, guys, Singapore, like one of the big banks of Singapore, which is the DBS, and I banked with them. They have plans to launch their crypto exchange as well, which is like, the banks are moving towards crypto. Like once upon a time, the banks were like banning crypto as scams. And JP Morgan also they've just launched their JP Coin. And also they announced their own blockchain ecosystem, like OEX or something like that. I can name it. But yeah, it's moving. Like these big players, these big institutions are embracing crypto because they understand the importance of the blockchain technology and the use case, which is the currency, which is based on the blockchain technology. So hence our panel is going to be on that. I'd like to start with Anuj. Anuj, what are the recent investments you've seen in the space of So are you comfortable talking about blockchain as well, besides fintech, or your focus is, in terms of investments, you're only focused on fintech?
Absolutely. I mean, we are actively looking at fintech and blockchain companies. However, the approach that I am taking in is a bit different. Uh, they, to start off, I would just say one thing. A totally decentralized system is a unicorn. It's really hard to capture one. It's really hard to make one, scale it to a level. So a lot of companies that are coming up with the buzzword blockchain, we are developing a decentralized system, it's still a buzzword for me. So I personally am not very actively looking at blockchain in fintech. However, one area of opportunity which I see for blockchain is going to be in terms of gaming. A truly decentralized system needs massive scale. You have to deploy the system on a lot of networks. You need a lot of people working on it together, and that cannot be built, or that cannot be built in just a few years. It needs a lot of time, it needs a lot of effort, and it needs a lot of capital. uh, there's a reason why when you talk about blockchain or when you talk about cryptocurrency, people associate it with Bitcoin right away, because almost 60% of the transactions that are happening in crypto is mostly Bitcoins. So that's why I say Bitcoin is one unicorn that was created. However, for me, fintech would probably not see that break blockchain revolution. That would probably be coming in different type of other sectors, probably in gaming. Take for example Call of Duty Mobile, uh, a brilliant console game that's been deployed over mobile, which is seeing a massive surge in spending. Gaming has always had this concept where you would never use real world currency on a video game platform, and that's what blockchain is all about. You don't use real money on that system. You use it to buy a virtual currency, and then you use that virtual currency in that closed environment. And that's pretty much what blockchain is. If Call of Duty at this moment decided to go decentralized, they already have their game deployed over 100 million mobile phones. It's for them, it's pretty easy to go decentralized at this point in time. And that's where I think the future is going to be in terms of blockchain. However, when you're talking about fintech altogether, it's a whole different ballgame. I was on another panel with Kyle, and there was this gentleman on the panel who had this fantastic T-shirt that read, "Banks are not your friends," and I could not agree more. We are seeing a different situation with banks. We are seeing a stronghold that's been established for many decades that banks have been exploiting to not include more people. That stronghold is coming down. There's a demand for financial inclusivity. There's a demand to include more people, and banks are going to pay the price. So to give you an example, there's a recent banking change that's been deployed in India, where now if you deposit money or withdraw money from your account, both of them are going to attract a charge after 3 transactions. And that's horrible. You are talking about you're talking about a 1.2 billion population with a very small percentage that's already using banking services. So for them to use other banking products, it's going to be easy. But when you're talking about the grassroots movement, the people who are making $500 or $1,000 a month, for them now to deposit money into bank, they're practically losing money. They might as well keep cash, continue trading with cash, because let's be honest, there's a reason why cash exists, and it's because it's the easiest mode of making a payment. So that fintech revolution is going to come in there, where banks who are not customer centric, who have been ignoring customers, who have primarily been focusing on those big clients where they had all the money, the preferential treatment that they have been giving to the rich guys, where you don't make any money from them. They don't have to pay any charges. They don't have any fees. And the middle class and then the low middle class, which are paying a lot of fees, processing fees, cash withdrawal fees, transaction fees, cash deposit fees. All of that is going to go away. And that's where the new fintech revolution for me would be.
Yeah, Thank you so much, Rishabh. No, sorry, Anuj, for sharing that. But thing is, I'm really surprised. How can they charge transaction fees, the banks these days, like for drawing, withdrawing, and depositing? I mean, this is crazy.
See, there's things can be a double-edged sword, and uh, when you talk about complicated industries, of course there are gonna be someone with a different point of view who sees the world in a different light, who might not realize the other side of it. So I can see why when the Reserve Bank decides to have these uh, new fees added onto their system, they
Ah,
might be seeing it as a way to ask consumer to use different banking services, to maybe not withdraw cash and use NEFTs or UPI payment systems or any other prepaid instrument for that matter.
right.
However, you still have to consider that when the Jan Dhan scheme was employed by the Indian government, and then they opened up massive number of accounts, all being zero balance, you don't have to keep any minimum balance on the account. What was the result? There were n number of accounts that were opened up. uh, Many new users were added to the banking system, but those accounts are empty. No one is using them, and that's because you made that banking system complicated. So
Hmm.
that double-edged sword factor is always going to be there. You can either promote digital payments, or you can include more people on it. It really depends upon where the priorities are right now.
Right, right. Thank you, Anuj, again for those sharing those insights. Banks, I don't know. I really like the way you said. One of the guys in Kyle's panel had this written on his shirt. I mean, I don't want to re-emphasize, but I understand it very well. Sean, I would like to ask you, because you've been away for a long time. Would like to know your insights. Like, if I remember, you heavily invest in Africa, actually primarily in the country. So would like to know what have you seen in recent times, in terms of investments in fintech, blockchain, and crypto, if any, if you can add. Sean, you are on mute.
Eh. It's been a very, very interesting time. I recorded a few talking points and whatnot, but technically fintech was already very active in the African continent before COVID hit. You have companies like Palm Pay, a company that's now expanding into Nigeria that raised 40 million. You have South Africa's Yoko that raised 22 million. So you already had a lot of activity in the fintech space. The blockchain space, I think I carry the same sentiments as our partner here. Basically, it was more of a buzzword if you're talking about anything in blockchain outside of cryptocurrency. But as far as the fintech pivots, what I'm seeing in Africa especially is more companies that are trying to support and participate in fast-moving consumer goods. If you're talking about lenders and whatnot. And also you have a lot more lenders venturing into like the retail loan space. So people are basically trying to expand how many people they can provide money to and different things like that in spaces where they know there's going to be a lot of activity. Again, when you start looking at fast moving consumer goods, you will find a way to buy this. You have to buy this. How do we get you money to make sure that those supply chains stay up? And it's very profitable to do so. So we're seeing a lot of activity there. Of course, COVID has forced social distancing, people to stay away from each other, so on and so forth. So you're seeing more and more virtual deployment of funds. And with the more virtual deployment of funds, you're seeing a lot more international attention into successful African fintechs. Again, COVID is forcing people to take online, and you're seeing like customer-based projections and different things like that people had planned upon when it comes to your investment strategy and whatnot. They're blowing those numbers out of the water. It's ridiculous. And again, with that happening, investors are bringing more and more money into, especially the Nigerian tech sector, fintech sector. I believe 1.4 million went into Okra in April. Okra is an API that allows users to retrieve real-time financial information. So basically that is our version of Plaid at this point. So you're seeing a lot of activity in that space. You're also seeing growth in the online and mobile banking sectors. So you have banks like Kuda Bank that are 100% online launching. You had Ruby and different ones like that that launched just before COVID. So again, now people are starting to reimagine what they see as a bank, especially with this young youth, this huge youth population in Africa. You're having this system where more people are getting online, and again, more people are making more transactions online. So again, you're seeing, and this is being supported by the proliferation of data infrastructure that allows people to get online in the first place. You're having a lot more unicorns come out of Africa, or the potential to come out of Africa. I had to pat myself on the back. It wasn't necessarily me, but with Ingressive Capital, one of the early companies we invested in was actually just acquired by Stripe for 200 million. So Paystack was acquired for 200 million. So we've been high-fiving, celebrating on that one. So yeah, there's just a lot, like for what everybody thinks as far as the African continent, there is money flowing in and out of here. The fintech space has always been the belle of the ball, so to speak. That's getting a lot of attention. So again, we have, and just to give you a better example of why, Paystack announced that it's processing 50% of all payments in Nigeria. And imagine that maybe 2 years ago, they were processing maybe 15%. I don't know if you all are familiar with Paga, but Paga was the one that were basically launching these different. Basically, they were approaching the unbanked. So you have the CEO of Paga who said they've had like a 330% quarter-over-quarter growth with their mobile wallet signups. So a lot of people are getting online. As far as I don't want to talk too much, but as far as the blockchain part goes, there's a lot of activity. Again, it's mostly in the cryptocurrency space. Currency fluctuations are driving Africans to consider cryptocurrencies as a way to kind of protect their money, to help their money grow. An increased number of Nigerians are hoping to reduce the impact of the COVID-19 on their personal income. They're running cryptocurrencies with the expectation, again, of safeguarding their assets, making money through the buying and selling of Bitcoin. Excuse me if I say it wrong, but Ethereum, I've always said this thing wrong, and other profitable altcoins. You have Luno that said it's gained like 1 million users since the whole thing began, since the COVID began. You have countries like Zambia, Uganda, Ghana, and Kenya that they are looking at. And yeah, there's just a lot of activity. There was one, just the last company I'll mention is a company named Bitcoins. They launched a money transfer service. And basically their CEO, Timmy, tweeted that he was hoping for a new service that would get 100 million naira, basically. He was praying for the day that this thing would happen, right? And 100 million naira is basically like $260,000. He hit that mark in 30 days. In 30 days, he had already hit it. So like, there's a lot of activity here. And again, a lot of people are being brought on board and are better understanding in the African continent what fintech is, what cryptocurrency is, and how they can use it to their advantage.
Fantastic. If I can summarize, lots of action happening in Africa as a country. Terence is going to come take round. Rishabh, with your, just over to you, you just messaged me. Again, what are the recent trends, any recent investments that you made either in fintech, blockchain, or crypto space? I mean, you spoke about it yesterday, but just for the viewers that we have today, please take us through that.
Sure. So before I get on to what investment I made, there was a very interesting point that was raised while I was hearing Anuj and Sean. So even in these times, we talk about COVID times, and I remember a discussion which I was a part of in March 2020 when this whole situation happened and lockdown happened, and people were really worried, that the investment will be going down, the number of investments will be going down, the investors will be scared, they'll be afraid to invest. And surprisingly, like 6 months down the line, we see that there has been a rise in investment. We see, if you look at the data from the Indian ecosystem perspective, the fintech companies have seen 60% more investments in the terms of the number of investments as compared to 2019. And I'm not surprised. You know, the lockdown created a scenario where people realized how important it is to be digitized, where the masses realize that how important it is to go, to go mobile and to use their mobile and laptops just to do the transactions, pay for the different bills, and that's where these neobanks, these fintech companies come up, right?
Yeah.
We have seen that in the last 3 years, and I'm really happy to see that even in the absence of a very strong regulatory concept by the Central Bank of India, we still have 15 neobanks that have come up. And these neobanks have raised more than $140 million, which is a good amount in the last 3 years, because there is no regulatory compliance around it. It's all going around in the very gray area. In the gray area, the rules are not defined properly, and fintech companies are taking advantage of it.
Right.
And that's where we need to understand, as investors, as people creating awareness, that fintech is going to be there for the next 1 decade, and it is going to be the revolutionary sector for a lot of countries. Because if you look at the data, I mean, 1.7 billion people out of the world are still unbanked and underbanked, and these are the people which has been reported. I mean, you can extend you can extend the number, extrapolate the numbers, because there is a large population which has not been reported. And when these people do need banking, without banking they cannot survive properly, they cannot have access to the resources. And that's where fintech and blockchain will come in. So having said that, about the state of fintech from our ecosystem perspective, then the upcoming trends I think would be insurtech, would be blockchain, amalgamation of blockchain and fintech. We see how PayPal's adoption of cryptocurrency led to a huge rise in the adoption, because there is a huge user base with PayPal. And if PayPal facilitates the service of providing buying and selling of crypto, blockchain digital assets, that means that it is, and this is the same co-founder and the CEO who back in 2018 said that Bitcoin is going down to zero. So just 2 years down the line, and he says, okay, now we are open for 336. I'm sorry for if the numbers might be wrong, but somewhere around millions of users. He's offering crypto services, and just 2 years. And I'm sure that, this would be the case with the governments around the world, when they would realize how easy it is how easy it is helping out the people, how easy it is making the people to transact, to make their payments.
Yeah.
Apart from that, and to see, the payment industry is not fintech. Fintech comprises of wealth advisory, it comprises of robo advisory, it comprises of insurtech, it comprises of so many other sectors which have not been explored yet. And we have just focused on payment systems as of now. This is where the next rise, I think insurtech is one of the sectors I am keen to look forward to, that is really going to change the insurtech using AI and blockchain, is going to change the way we look at insurances.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rishabh. You brought in a very good point. PayPal is a good example of marriage between fintech and blockchain and crypto, not blockchain, but cryptocurrencies. As you rightly said. Thank you so much. I now pass the floor to Terence, and he's going to take some questions. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, I think the whole idea of looking at the whole industry on its own is we have to realize that this is ultimately a marathon. It's definitely not a sprint at this point, especially when blockchain is involved and mass adoption is needed. But I would appreciate if the three of you can kind of comment a little bit, just bring it down to that blockchain level, and within fintech itself, what's the potential benefits at the moment as compared to the traditional approach, and how are governments and their regulations taking this on, given your regions, of course. So perhaps maybe Sean, you can go first, and let's hear it from the African region, perhaps.
Great. So I think there's a couple things that you mentioned before that are relevant here as well. So in the African continent, I just realized this, but in the beginning, blockchain again was a buzzword. And when you spoke of blockchain within the African continent, most people either A, didn't know what it meant, myself included in the very beginning, or they were just talking about cryptocurrency. So at this point now, what you're finding, and again, what you touched on before, is that fintech and cryptocurrency, just as the way that they exist, they're outpacing the laws and the structures and the policies that exist. So you have the government trying to create sandboxes and different things like that in certain cases to understand how this works and what is the impact. You have, let's say, less scrupulous government leaders, let's say. I don't want to be too critical, but you have them trying to figure out, like, how do I get my hands on this? How do I get my piece of the action? And they really don't understand. Again, not to embarrass anybody, because the same thing that I would say now, I'm from Mississippi, so I've heard the same thing in Mississippi that I'm about to say now. But you have conversations where people are talking about, hey, we want to transition the way that you are keeping records by writing things down, and we want to transition it into the cloud. And you have one of these government ministers responding by saying, well, what happens when it rains? So you have a major disconnect between in the African continent between understanding the fintech and blockchain space and how they participate in it. What that leaves is this amazing opportunity for a lot of fintech companies to run crazy around here and create things and allow the government to catch up. You're having situations where again, it's just, they're just trying to basically figure it out. At the ground level, we are seeing a lot of different things going on. If you're focusing on just blockchain, what I discovered is that fintech is almost following the same, well, fintech was first, but blockchain and fintech are having the same experience. Meaning with fintech, we didn't necessarily have fintech until very recently. We had remittance. Basically, we could foster payments. Now with, I mentioned Okra earlier. Now Okra is collecting information from different places, feeding this to different applications and allowing them to make more, just better products and services and better offerings to the public. And now we are saying, I think now we are finally starting to see fintech kind of flourish and grow, and people kind of think differently about trying to solve the same problem. How do we get money across the borders that exist? Just to throw a couple of names out there, if you're looking at cryptocurrency exchange platforms that are active in the African continent, you have BitPesa in Kenya, you have CoinDirect in South Africa, you have Quidax in Nigeria, you have Bitcoins in Nigeria, you have Shamba Records in Kenya, Bitmari in Zimbabwe, U2 Technologies in Kenya, House Africa in Nigeria, and Bitsika in Ghana. So these are the ones that are kind of pushing the conversation regarding Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but regarding cryptocurrency and blockchain in the African continent.
That's great, Sean.
And
I
again,
think, thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think it's really ironic because Jamie Dimon was saying a lot of things about cryptocurrency. He was saying a lot of mess. It'll never work. Just to see them jumping on board now.
Yeah. Just recently, the entire gang, I think it's pretty much focused on it as well. Anuj, can you tell us a bit on some of the trends that you see and what you have picked up within the industry and within your region? Anuj, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, mate. So I'm gonna take in a point from what Sean said about that one word, remittance. So we at LSFI, I think we have been fortunate to work with companies across the world. We have recently started working with a peer-to-peer lending system based out of Bangladesh. We are working with a peer-to-peer lending system based out of Indonesia. So I think we have been fortunate to witness the financial situation across the globe. And one of the key things that we have witnessed and that we probably take for granted as well is real-time remittance. Now, when the whole Bitcoin craze started in 2017, a couple of key coins or cryptocurrencies that were blowing up was Ethereum and Ripple. And Ripple was primarily growing up because of one simple reason. It's because they were targeting a market for international remittance, all processed in real time. Now, I'm not sure how successful they have been. Of course, I've not had a chance to follow up on them, but that's one sector which I see very closely. Now, working with these companies in Bangladesh and Israel, another thing we notice is not only international remittances taking time, but compared to some major countries, with the exception of India, China, Singapore, leaving these big economies aside, there are a lot of Southeast Asian countries which still do not have a real-time payment transfer system. While I'm sitting in India, I can make a payment using online banking and then the money is transferred immediately, or with the same thing which is called as direct deposit in US. That's not available in Bangladesh. They have almost 30 banks with just 3 or 4 of them offering this kind of a service. And that becomes a major hassle when you're transferring money. Of course, one of the key components always is, if I am sending money right now, can it be received immediately on the other end? And that one factor has always plagued the banking industry. Banks do not have an incentive to upgrade. They don't have a rush to upgrade. However, with new neobanks coming in, with new technologies coming in, we are seeing that banks are now forced to upgrade. They either have to upgrade or be obsolete. It's that simple. A neo Starting up a banking operation is not what it used to be. It's not just left for the super rich of the country to come up and start with a bank, or left with the government. If I was to start a neo-banking service right now, all I need is just a good tech team, or I can just outsource this right now and have a neo-banking platform ready. There are a lot of neo-banking companies coming up in Brazil, which are seeing investment coming in from SoftBank. There are companies like Paytm in India, which is valued at $16 billion, which is basically changing the whole payment industry and the whole system. So that's one sector where I'm seeing a lot of growth happening. Banks will now have to more or less develop that system where they have to make sure that, again, you are taking the customer first. You are making sure that you are living with the time, that you're not living in 1990 while the world is moving on to a post-COVID world. Right. So that for me is going to be one of the major sector. Of course, the second being lending. Peer-to-peer systems have always been the go-to in the Southeast Asian cultures. Sector has practically been unorganized for centuries. There's never been any setup that's been created, or if anything, more or less, there's always been laws and restrictions that have been placed. They've tried to ban such a system. India famously banned cryptocurrencies as well. It's banned chit funds, which are a peer-to-peer system. So having these kinds of system organized so that they can create something which is legal, all while making sure that the users that are actually using it have their money safe and secure, is going to be the next future. Bangladesh is seeing a huge growth in that. Indonesia is seeing a huge growth in that. Of course, we already have multiple peer-to-peer systems in India. So the world's a future. Post-COVID world is going to be different from what 2019 was. I'm more excited to see what it's going to be.
Definitely. Thanks for that, Anuj. And yes, definitely new trends are going to pop out. Hopefully you are on board earlier than most out there. And just to touch on the benefits of those new startups coming up, those interested within the whole fintech blockchain combination of things, what are several important questions to consider? And what are the VCs out there looking for? Perhaps Rishabh, you can go first, and then Sean and Anuj, you can sum up.
Sure. So, and that's as I mentioned earlier yesterday as well, Terence, this is a really very important question when it comes to understanding what the investors are looking for, because as I was as Gary said yesterday, there are some people who are over engineering the products. They're just building and building and building, and they were going to the market, and that is causing them a huge loss, not only to them, but sometimes some good solutions get lost in that over engineering approach, and we lose a lot. We lose out a lot from the investors' perspective as well as from the adoption perspective. But coming to a question, if you look at fintech and blockchain, And if you look at how investors are looking at this sector, I think one important concept that has emerged, and I'm taking this from Anuj. Anuj said that the P2P lending is really, one of the sectors that here a lot of people are looking forward to. Now, from P2P, with the P2P has now become called a space called DeFi, right? That's called lending and borrowing without any P2P interaction. So basically, doing is creating a liquidity pool, and in that liquidity pool, you as a lender can go and put your money. There will be no central authority. The authority will be distributed, as the basic underlying principle of blockchain or distributed ledger technology. So that pool will be giving out loans, crypto loans that will be collateralized, but crypto loans to the users who want to borrow, who want to stake their crypto assets and borrow some stable coins or stable money, and then keeping the upside potential with them. So basically what they're essentially saying is, if I have some Ethereum with me, like I have 2 Ethereum with me, I can just put that 2 Ethereum in that liquidity pool, borrow against that 2 Ethereum. Now let's say that Ethereum price was $100. That Ethereum price becomes presently somewhere around $400. Let's assume that $400, and that Ethereum becomes 450. So now I pay back that $200 that I borrowed, and I get my 2 Ethereum back for $900. So basically, I just paid a small amount of interest and kept that loan amount, and I paid back my loan amount and kept my collateral with me. So that's the innovation that fintech, that blockchain brought in the fintech industry. Similarly, in derivatives, like automated market making exchanges like Uniswap, all these exchanges are seeing huge adoption. I mean, people are going and farming yields. They are going and staking the crypto assets, earning yields on them. With the interest rates almost going negative in the regions like Europe, US, the savings interest rates are almost negative and close to zero. I mean, why would someone want to deposit their money in any such instrument which is not giving them any return? Whereas when you have financial instruments available at your service, at your disposal, where you can stake your crypto assets, convert your money to your crypto, save those crypto assets, and then borrow against it or use it to earn yields. And validate my data when I was you must have heard about US government distribute somewhere around $1,000 to their users, to the people of the country, and the very next day the wallets and crypto exchanges were seeing exact deposits of $1,250 in a huge amount. So that's adoption. That's where the real masses are actually adopting it. We know, I mean, it's a live case, live example in front of us. You deposit $1,250 for them to spend on their necessities, and they say, okay, we don't need that let's just deposit on crypto exchanges because they know that this is something that is going to create wealth for them, that is going to be the future. So that is one of the sectors, that is one of the things that that really validated the POC concept, the proof of concept for crypto and fintech. Now, coming to summarize my answer in terms of what startups should look out for, the first thing is the product market fit. If you are building a product that is in fintech, so please be sure that fintech has been explored a lot. Just building a payment platform will not take you to a long distance. You need to come up with a solution that is required, that is actually solving another problem in the industry. You just cannot come up with another pay and expect your valuation to go up to $16 billion. You need to come up with a solution that is different. You need, for example, robo advisory is how you reach out to that last mile user from that rural area of the country who is not very much into usage of mobile, who does not have an awareness about using Paytm and different payment platforms. So there has to be an innovative solution and not just a copied solution to existing problems or existing products in the market. Then second is build a diversified team, build a team which is covering all the aspects of a comprehensive team. For example, you should have a person who is innovative, a person who is creative, then a person who is always ready to go to the market and build and take the real-time feedback from the market. So there has to be a comprehensive team with a vision to build something which is adding value and not a vision to make quick money, because now investors are not looking for founders who are here there to make quick money. You just cannot make money in 3 months, and you can see this concept being validated by having huge lockup periods now. If you look at the token distribution of a lot of crypto companies which are operating into fintech space, the token distribution is now arranged in a way that takes 5 to 7 years for the complete unlock and complete vesting. Whereas earlier it was just 1.5 years or 6 months or 1 year, because people were looking for make quick money. So many scams happened. So now the whole scenario has changed. There is new era coming up, and I'm sure that blockchain and fintech is going to solve the major problem around the world, that is financial inclusivity. And with that, I would rather close my argument, and that's where I wanted to put it up to the panel here.
Right. Thank you, Rishabh. Sean, what's your take on it, Sean?
I was going to say, did Mr. Gupta leave anything for me to even say at this point? Well said. You touched on a lot of great points. I think especially the market mix is something that you mentioned that's very important here. So if I can take it back a step from an investor perspective, what we look at, or where we see the most issues is a part of that due diligence process, by peeling back the layers of your business and looking at your operational structures and different things like that. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrency and fintech, of course, these conversations tend to be far more complicated. I mean, outside of that, we have to separate people who are looking, the way they present their plan. Are they looking for private investment? Are they looking for VC? So we have to kind of, I know I find myself quite often giving people different perspectives on how to craft their story. So a huge part of what they're doing is telling that story. When you're trying to get to VC money, you're not telling $100,000 or a $200,000 or a $500,000 story. You're telling $1 billion story that's going to help us cover the losses from all of these other different places we've invested in. So I know a lot of the times we're looking at people, you have to talk about not only, especially in the African continent, you can't just talk about this product will work in Ghana, who has as many people as Lagos, Nigeria. You can't just talk about these different pockets of people that you would be able to serve. You have to give us a continental view. How does this spread across borders within the African continent? How does this work with the different financial laws and different things that exist or do not exist in these different countries? So those are some of the areas that we kind of push people into to consider. Again, just talking about, just kind of talking about how they're going to fit, how they're going to expand. Another thing that I'm finding a lot of these startups having issues with, especially, is how to evaluate their company, how to assign value, the future growth. Because again, what you were mentioning is that this is no longer the 1 year to 2 year play where people are looking for fast returns. This is a 5 to 10 year play. So now that completely changes how you talk about valuation with your company. It completely changes when you're talking about the entire plan, or when you're telling us what this is going to look like. It just shifts that conversation tremendously. And another major thing that we look at is like, who is in your company? Who are the people? A lot of people have a great idea, like we just mentioned. It technically these days, if you want to start a bank, if you have the ability to basically have a strong technical team and raise funds, technically you can start a bank. But it does not necessarily mean that you understand how financial instruments work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you understand, what this market is going to look like in the next 2 to 3 years. We have no idea what the competition is going to look like in the next 5 years, because things are changing so rapidly. So those are some of the areas that we are looking at and we pay special attention to when we have startups looking at us for investment funding.
Nice. Thank you for that, Sean. Anuj, perhaps you could summarize this. What are you looking out for? What are key considerations here?
So I'm going to share an example here. I'm going to do some callbacks to some things Rishabh and Sean said. So taking the example of Paytm, a company that started probably 8 to 9 years ago, as basically recharge service, a way to digitally charge your phone and pay your phone bills. And one thing which I remember talking to Vijay, he said, when you are creating a product, when you're building a service for a community, there's only so many people you can cover. But once you have done that, rather than adding more people under that umbrella, you have to look at ways to expand that umbrella. So, like Rishabh said, when you are building a fintech system, when you're creating something, you cannot just have another payment system. That's already been done. It's already been created. There are a number of people using multiple systems. They have millions of users deployed on them. So creating that will not help. You have to take creating the same system will not help. You have to take a different approach, come up with a real world solution to a real world problem. And only when you have solved that, only when you have when you have reached a tipping point where you now have enough people under your umbrella, is when you'll have to then expand that service across the umbrella. Like Sean said, any person can open up a banking system right now, and he's right. That's what I was saying as well. If you have a good tech team, or even if you don't have a tech team, you can just outsource it and then set up a neobank right now. It's about understanding people. At World Business Angel Forum, we are actively promoting global financial inclusivity. A key component of that, or something that I've been very vocal about, is adding more users in the financial ecosystem, not just to add more numbers, not just to say, hey, we had 200 million users a year ago, we now have 220, we have had a 10% growth. And then by the time you look at the numbers, you realize the average deposit is still the same. You realize that only the top lenders, or the top users of that financial system, are still now using it 10% more rather than the 10% that have actually been added. So that situation has to be changed. And that's where the new solution is. When you're talking about financial inclusivity, adding the underbanked and the unbanked, a key component is going to be to make sure that the product is easy, because a part of the reason why a huge population is underbanked is because banking systems are complicated right now. You have to make sure that you ease things up, make sure that when new users are being added, that they come in and not have to go through or jump through hoops. And another factor that needs to be there is to make sure that we are empathetic with them. Like I said in my first point, banks are not your friend right now. They charge the highest fees to the most vulnerable, to their lowest paid customer. That situation has to change. While I understand it's important for banks to make money to make sure that they are keeping up with their infrastructure, I can live with that. But again, people who are actually using it the most have to be the one that pay the most. And that situation can only change when new neobanks come up. They bring in a new solution, and it changes the banking industry as we know it.
Right. Thank you for that, Anuj. I think, again, a few of the points that maybe you and everybody here brought up, it's definitely what's trending at the moment, and it's definitely quite insightful and great as well for new startups. And I hope those who are tuning in still at the moment, you are picking these points up. You do log on from where you are. We are available on YouTube and even on our main site, LATOKEN.com. So do remember that and come back whenever you think it's definitely needed. So to kind of sum up the conversation here, I think it's kind of important to kind of look again at the entire topic, at the industry and within your regions as well. Let's talk about the top 3 wish lists. Do you have a wish list for the industry? Do you have a direction for the industry? Where do you want to see it go? Let's kind of end it with that one. Perhaps Rishabh, again, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. So, wish list, I would see, again, repeating my point, a product which is which has a higher option. which can be easily accessible, which is easily accessible and understandable by a user who has zero understanding of the industry. If a product can go to that penetration, that product is going to be huge, because they will be bringing in users, and users drive the product, drives the products today. And we have seen examples of companies that have grown huge just because they were able to bring in users on their platform. Then, in terms of sectors, I think wealth advisory and insurance are one of the are few of the sectors that I think, when I look at fintech and blockchain, would be the game changers for the upcoming few years. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'll
Sean.
keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Wow, I never muted myself. So yeah, I think that the previous gentleman touched on this. Something that's very, very, very important is a customer education plan. Again, when you were talking about the unbanked, the underbanked, a large part of the reason why, again, is because these systems they're complicated, they're hard to understand. And technically, before certain people came in, there were existing strategies that people used to get by. Were they convenient? No. Were they strategic or efficient? No. But at the end of the day, people were meeting their needs. And then here we come, when you have people with the feature phones with the green screen and the black letters, and we're now trying to talk to you about cryptocurrency, you're having a very difficult conversation. So again, we need to have these things become more simplified. We need to have a strategy that educates that customer. And that strategy needs to be a part of, again, the overall operations plan, and it also needs to be a part of that budget. You're going to have to put some money in that direction, I think, if you're going to have any hopes for sustainability. The second thing on my wish list, government needs to be, where Africa is concerned, they need to be all the way in or all the way out. Either A, participate, support, help build the infrastructure, drive funding towards it, or leave us alone. With that being said, also, again, where the African continent is concerned, we need to continue to grow past remittance. I feel like if you close your eyes and throw a rock, you'll hit an online payment platform. It is ridiculous. So now we need to, again, just get past that and start building the infrastructure below that makes this start becoming more transformational. Again, like we were mentioning before with the online banks and things of that nature. Again, I'm not going to say anybody could do it, but more people can do it now. So that's going to allow us at the lower levels to create a system that's equitable, the thing that serves all of us, the thing that can get further down to the bottom of the pyramid. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the three things on my wish list regarding financial technology and blockchain.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Anuj, how about yourself?
So, sharing my wish list, I mean, working with the companies that I worked with, we've had n number of fintech companies reach out to us. We have done projects with tens of them. And one thing which I see is missing in all of them is security infrastructure. It's fairly easy to hack them. So I think if I was to add my wish list, I'm not going to go down in terms of what the product is, because that's innovative. That I leave to the entrepreneurs to come up with innovative solution and change the world. But something which I want to see included in that product is better user management. You have to make sure that all the things are flowing smoothly, all the systems are working properly, and then you're managing all the user data properly. Better security systems for fraud prevention. You don't want to develop a system that once again reaches its critical mass, starts to blow up with frauds than an actual valuable transaction. And the last thing which I want to see coming up in fintech sector is going to be more neo-bankings, more financial inclusive, more innovative solutions. Ola is a great example for that, a cab company coming up with a PPI system that not only developed its wallet, its payment system, but also a prepaid card, which was practically not heard of in India before. I was part of the pilot team that launched American Express gift cards in India back in 2011, 2012. So coming in from gift cards in 2011 to actually having prepaid card, it took us 8 long years. And a taxi company an online cab aggregator to do that. So I'm actually hoping that more fintech companies will come up with such products where, since we don't have the internet bandwidth right now, a lot of Southeast Asia, a lot of African countries are still trying to catch up on internet speed, that they would develop a system which can work either without an internet or at a low bandwidth. So that's a three thing that I'm looking forward to in the
Great.
fintech sector.
Thank you. Fantastic. Really great insights from Sean covering Africa, Rishabh and Anuj. I'm just conscious of the time. I've been told that we are way past 60 minutes, but I really don't want to leave. Honestly, this is something that I really love to, Sean, you agree, right? We'd like to continue. Again, cybersecurity, somebody mentioned. I have a panel coming up at 8 p.m. Singapore. Anybody interested to know more what's happening in the space, please do tune in at 8 p.m. Singapore, where we're going to talk about cybersecurity, blockchain, and how they're going to marry together. Thank you so much. And guys, I'm going to see you back again on another panel. Do watch our shows at www.latoken.com/shows. And we will love to again have you all back on another panel with another topic, with another set of speakers. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe, and goodbye.